Alright, so now we're ready to test our fascia. We got all of them cut. And we're going to use our trowel to dig down. And then there's a gap there. So we want it to be flush with the top of the board, so we're going to put some gravel in underneath. That'll help. It looks kind of bowed because I'm using a wide angle lens on my GoPro here, but it's really actually straight across. It looks kind of distorted there. So to push it up off the ground and provide drainage underneath this board, we're going to be putting gravel in. We're going to be using 2.5-inch deck screws. So these are really good for everything. They have a an anti-rust coating, and they go in smoothly. So we're putting the cut side upward, just because that's not weathered yet. So it's better to keep it out of the wet area until it gets weathered a little bit. And we'll just keep adding gravel until it's flush with the top of the step. I'm using gloves here, to prevent getting splinters, and also I try to minimize touching the pressure treated wood as much as I can. It's just a good practice. Alright, that looks pretty good. Straighten it out a little bit. Alright. Now let's see, this happens next here. Oh yeah, now to attach we want to make sure when we're using the screws, we don't drill into where the rebar is. I've done that on other projects where you drill into something that's already in the wood. It's very embarrassing. So we're going to put 2 screws on the left and 2 on the right. So I'm using this fancy pre-drilling thing. Oh, also we're pre-drilling these holes because thin redwood like this easily splits if you just drive a screw into it. So this is a fancy hole pre-drill countersink thing that also includes the bit to drive the screws in. You just flip it around, so you can countersink all your holes and then flip it around and then use the driver to drive your screws in. So again, I'm using safety glasses. I'm not using hearing protection because this isn't that noisy, so it's not worth it. You could use it, but so again, I'm going to put 2, 2, and 2. That'll attach it securely to the board there. All right, so we're going to start. We're making sure we miss the rebar, and we do 2 here. Try to get in. There's 2 boards, 4x4 pressure treated wood they're used for the riser. So try to get into each board, each piece of wood, so secures it together. It is glued together and screwed, but still, the more we make this solid, the better it's going to last. So it doesn't matter exactly where you put these, just reasonably. Now you flip this around, get some of the sawdust off. It's a good idea. Flip it around, and now it's ready to drive the screws in. So this is a square drive bit, and these are square drive screws, so that it's easy. There's less likely the thing is going to flip out. So I had it on drilling hole setting for the clutch, and also speed 2. And I'm putting down to speed 1, and putting it clutch down to maybe 5. But I end up having to go higher than that because the screw doesn't go all the way in with that. The clutch is there to design the screw from going in too far, and so you just keep adjusting it until you get the torque that you need to get it all the way in there. So I think I ended up with 11. Maybe it was 10, I think, on these screws. So we put a couple. I always do one side then the other to stabilize the board, and then you can do the intermediate ones. And then put one in the middle, so that gets all sections solid. Then you put the other 3 in. Give you a little calfro. The front of the fascia, the front of the riser is not completely flat. Sometimes the bottom board sticks out or sticks in a little bit, so just be Don't overly tighten it or you could crack the fascia. So it has to be in there solid. It doesn't have to be, super tight. Just in there solid. So that's it for the fascia. Now we got to put our step on. So we're lining it up, but we're going to have a little bit of an overhang because it looks better. So a little bit of an overhang. Not a lot. It's about a half an inch, quarter inch, something like that. You don't want it hanging way over because then the front of the step could easily split off when you step on it. So just a teeny overhang, and then we want to backfill the gravel in back to make sure that the step is supported. And again, with the gravel, any water back there is going to drain around to the sides. So you definitely want to be using gravel behind these steps to assist with drainage and keep the wood lasting longer. So just pack it in there, and now we want to drill into the riser, not the front board, because that's where our strength is going to come from. But again, we have to miss the rebar, and we also want to miss the screws in front. So we have to make sure we do that. All right, so this is all nice and solid now. And I'm just adjusting the overhang by feel. I'm not measuring it. So there I was pointing out where I'm going to put the 6 screws in the step. So again, we want to miss the screws in front, and to see where the riser is, we can look to the side of the board. So if we look on the side, so we can go in about an inch from the outside screws and still not worry about hitting the rebar. Yeah, so that's what I'm showing that you can. So that's the back. Yeah, so I want to make sure. So, but I want to screw way in the back. They're just going to go into the gravel. So I'm going to be kind of close to the front here, but that'll be enough to secure the step and prevent it from moving around. So, all right. So I'm going to pre-drill our holes just like before. Yeah, see, I'm looking on the side there to make sure I get in the riser and not in the front. Not in the front of the fascia there. That's not going to give us any strength. That's not going to help keep it in place. So I'm resetting the drill to screwing. So speed 2 and screwing. So it just goes right in really easily there, you see. Another one in the back, again, making sure I go into the riser, not into the gravel. That's not going to do anything for us. And here I'm just have to offset from the screws in front. I don't want to drill into that screw in front. So again, it doesn't really matter where you do this. It's just going to be in there. So let's see, I missed it, which is good. Yeah. And then 2 on the left. I guess this is a little bit off camera here. There's the second one. Making sure I don't drill my hand. That's also important. Now I can swap this out, and I can use the driver side of this little tool to drive the screws in. So I'm using the same 2.5-inch deck screws. And this driver has a magnetic tip. Oh yeah, I have to change the clutch. Yeah. So it mostly holds the screw in place, but you still got to drive it straight in. So, all right, just like that. Again, I'm going across here. I didn't do the one on the far side. Probably should have, but that's all right. All right, so now it's in there solid. We can finish off the other 3 screws. And again, making sure I don't drive the screw into my hand. That's a good idea. So if the clutch is set properly on the driver, then when it gets down to the bottom where it's seated, it starts slipping. That's what you want. So here I needed to give it a little extra oomph there to get it in. So, all right, so there's our first step, and we only have 7 more to go. Those are all the fascias on the left, on the right there. I got them all lined up. And I'm doing it from the bottom up because then it gives you a place to kneel when you do the next one. So, all right, so our steps have been out here for a couple months, I think. So all the wood's dried out, and we're ready to put the stain on. So this is the stain I got. It's duck back. It's a semi-transparent stain. It comes in a neutral base, and then you put a tint in it. So I'm staining my deck right now, so I'm decided to use the same color. It's a redwood deck. This is all redwood. It looks pretty bright orange now, but once it goes on and soaks in and fades a little bit, it'll look fine. It'll look more like redwood. So, all right, so we're going to be doing the steps from the top to the bottom, so we don't, have to kneel on the stuff we've already stained. Obviously, I'm going to put on my disposable vinyl gloves, which I like to use. I get extra large because then I can sometimes I can take them off if I don't get too sweaty, and then reuse them. Like I already used this to do some staining on my deck a few minutes ago. So we're going to be using this tray. Now normally I could use a paint tray, but in this case I've got a wallboard tray that I used for another project to treat some wood with copper solution so it wouldn't rot. So this is already sitting out in the garden, just waiting for another project. So I decided to use this. When I get done with this, I'll probably dispose of it at that point. So we've already got some stain in here from the deck project. So we're just going to go. We're going to stain the top and then stain the front and on the edges if we can, wherever it's exposed. And we'll do the best we can. I could do a lot more prep on this wood, but this wood's been sitting out in the weather for a long time, and I think it's fine. All right, so let's get our foam brush. Go back and forth, let it soak in. Probably do a wet on wet coat when I get done doing this deck. This step, I'll go back over what I've already done a second time, but soak in some more. Hasn't rained since we put these steps in, but these things will really come in handy when it rains, because then this hillside won't be muddy. Trying to get to the top of the hill to our gravel path, we won't have to be walking in the mud. All right, now we're going to do the front. Now we're going to do the edge. The edge is where it's most likely to rot, so we want to try to get the edge. Now this wood down at the bottom here, that's 4x4, of course, is pressure treated, but it doesn't hurt to put some on here. In fact, we put copper solution on those cut edges, if you remember. A little bit extra stain won't hurt. It'll make it blend in better too. Okay, so I'm going to do another coat on the top here, and then I'll do the rest of the steps. Alright, that wasn't too hard. So these steps are looking good. So like I said, we'll come back tomorrow and put some mulch in between each of the steps and along the sides. Finish it off, and that'll be the end of this project. All right, we're ready to put out our mulch and finish this project up. Got this ground cover at our local Home Depot, so it doesn't really matter what kind you use. I like to put it out with these rubber gloves with a cuff on them. Otherwise, if you just use regular leather gloves, the mulch always gets underneath the gloves, so I like these better. Plus, this is kind of wet. It's been sitting out for a few months, and I don't think it's soaked up a bunch of rain. So this is really wet, so I'll just put it in between the steps. Don't need a super thick layer here. Just cover up the dirt and any gravel that's remaining, sticking out. Make it look better. That's a good start. So I'm going to work my way from the bottom up because this bag is heavy. I don't want to carry it up to the top. So finish this up, and then we'll take a final look at the project and do a recap. All right, our project's done. Put all the mulch out. So this room for some more mulch on the sides. I might do that later. But we wanted to get some steps up this hillside because it gets muddy in the wintertime when it's raining. And we used a calculator to calculate how far the steps should be apart and how fast they should rise up the hill. We came up with 8 steps. And we used 4x4, 2 4x4s screwed together, and then with rebar driven through them. Glued and screwed, yeah. And then we screwed this, then we backfilled with gravel and put this redwood fence board on the front and the top. And the backfill of gravel is important to support the back of this step. So, and then we come up here, and then we can walk right onto our gravel pathway. I got to get the rest of the poppies out of this area. That's my next task. All right, there's our project, and I think it came out great. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Post a comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll try to respond. That's all for now, but more videos are coming, and if you want to see them, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification icon if you don't want to miss one. This is Beta Cygni signing out, and keep looking up.